It's absolutely a revolution in communication technology, not only because of the speed with which information can be passed around the world, but also the types of information that can be passed instantly.
Yeah, the internet's cool, especially if you're a sports fan and you want to keep up with your teams.
How does the internet help my business? I use it to download important information for my entire department.
We have 2 puppies and we keep in touch with other puppies on the internet.
There is an incredible amount of free software offered on the internet.
Every day I'm on it, I learn something new.
I'm really into music, and the internet allows me to keep up with what's the latest in the new music.
As a graphic designer, the internet has really helped me streamline my ideas and to connect with my peers and really revolutionize the whole process.
I run a video store and I need to keep up with the latest film releases, which I can do with the internet.
I like the internet. I can access all sorts of information about film, music, current events.
The internet is full of surprises. It's just like a giant bookstore.
The internet is great. I can communicate with my friends a lot through the email. I travel a lot, and that's great.
I think the internet is very good. At this point, I really couldn't live without it. It'd be like we're living without a telephone.
It seems hard to believe that only a year has gone by since Hayden Books offered online publisher and computer expert Adam Engst the opportunity to write the Internet Starter Kit books. Today, literally hundreds of thousands of people have purchased and used the best-selling Mac and PC versions to learn about the Internet. Because many of you have asked for a visual primer to the Internet, we decided to make this videotape. In it, Adam takes you step by step through the process of connecting your computer to the Internet. He'll demonstrate how to utilize its many services, including electronic or email, discussion groups, and the transfer of files. And he'll show you how to use popular programs like Netscape and Mosaic to access information on the exciting World Wide Web. Hi, I'm Bill Wright, your host for the Internet Starter Kit video. As Adam is so fond of saying, the Internet is a vast conglomeration of people, information, and machines. But if you're an Internet beginner, as I myself was not too long ago, you probably are wondering just how those 3 elements relate to each other. Joining me in the studio today to answer that question is Los Angeles area Internet provider Dr. Robert Amadeo. Dr. Amadeo, you told me earlier that you actually learned a great deal about the Internet from reading Adam's books.
That's right, Bill. The Internet Starter Kit is a very complete book for learning how to get started on the Internet and to browse around through the Internet.
Dr. Amadeo, what would you consider the key concepts and relationships that we might find useful in beginning our Internet educations?
The first things to think about are information and communication. Spread all around the world is a growing collection of millions of computers which communicate with each other using a commonly agreed to language or protocol. Technically speaking, the protocol is called TCP/IP. And you may hear these letters if you listen to experts speak about the Internet or read about it in more detail. The more important point is, whatever types of computers are on the net, be they Macs or PCs, fast or slow, old or new, they must communicate with this protocol. From a machine perspective, these computers, constantly making information available to those who can access it, constitute the Internet.
So how do people fit into the mix, other than spending money on a video?
People are actually the most important component, because hardware and software can change over time. But the intention of the Internet is to help people communicate. Let's look at an illustration of an analogy that Adam often finds useful. And this is where some Internet vocabulary could help as well. Obviously, it's people who are primarily interested in obtaining information from the Internet. So, you're a person. Imagine you're in a restaurant. The information that you wish to obtain from the Internet appears in the illustration as the desserts. But they're not just floating in midair. We see them sitting on a tray, which in Internet language is known as a server. In a restaurant, in order to pick the desserts that you want, you need dessert tong, which is a tool. In order to obtain information from the Internet, you also need a tool, which in Internet language is called a client program. So Internet computers make information available on servers, and people use tools called client programs to locate and download that information onto their own computers.
Well, it's not the easiest concept to grasp the first time around, but I think the analogy really helps.
Let me repeat. Internet computers make information available on servers, and people use tools called client programs to locate and download that information onto their own computers.
Tell me, what are some of the best known client tools?
Well, there's Eudora, which is a tool for email. FTP, which is used to transfer files from one machine to another, uses a tool called Anarchy. There's WinVN and NewsWatcher, which are tools for accessing news groups. And finally, there's Netscape and Mosaic, which you may have heard of, and they're tools for browsing the World Wide Web.
Well, that was very helpful. So tell me, what would be the easiest way for someone to get up and get started on the Internet?
Having Adam teach them personally.
Well, let's do that as we join Adam along with Los Angeles-based business analyst Holly Weiland as she starts her Internet education.
So what do I need to do to get going?
Well, probably the main thing to do right now is to plug in the modem.
All right.
If you look at the back of the modem here, you'll see that we have a number of ports. Power, serial port, and 2 phone lines.
All right.
So let's go for the various things. We have a power jack here. It goes to plug in the wall, and we'll plug that one in. And then we have the serial port, which we get a cable look something like this, and that plugs in here. That will plug into the serial port on our computer.
All right.
So simple enough there. And then this is the phone line from the wall. So you plug this in just like you'd plug in any extension telephone, and plugs in there. Now, if you wanted to have a telephone at your computer as well, you could plug that into the second phone port, and you could then use the telephone when the computer wasn't using the modem. They can't talk at the same time.
I see. So on the same line, I could have the phone coming here.
Right.
Very
Precisely.
Good. Then I turn it on.
Yep. Power switch. Poof.
And the lights come on.
Yep.
That means somebody's home.
Yes. If the lights don't come on when you turn it on, check the power plug.
Very good.
So we should be all set to dial out now.
Terrific.
Modem reminders. Modems convert computer data to signals that your telephone can send. The faster the modem, the better. It takes 2 to tango. Your modem and your provider's modem will communicate only at their highest common speed. Now that Holly has her modem connected, she's ready to load her computer software that will enable her to access the Internet. In the next sections, you'll see Adam demonstrate this process on a Macintosh computer. And then we'll see comparable Windows explanations for those of you interested in connecting via the PC environment.
We made this as simple as possible to install, so I've created an installer called the ISCM installer, just kind of Internet Starter Kit for Macintosh. And all we have to do is double-click on the installer.
Oh.
And it's going to run. And we'll see this nice splash screen come up and say, Internet Starter Kit for Macintosh.
Very nice.
I like it. And we will click on our OK button, or our Continue button, actually. And then we'll come to something here. It says the Internet Starter Kit disk README in large red letters, because I really, really want people to read this stuff.
Okay.
There is a lot of information in this about kind of what's on the disk and how to use it. So I really recommend that people scroll through this, read it. You can save it to a file so you can read it more later, or you can print it right now.
So it's a good refresher.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Let's click on the Continue button now. Now, seeing as you haven't used this stuff before, and we don't want to do anything fancy, we just want all the software, we want it as configured as possible for us, let's just do a standard install. And all we have to do, we don't have to mess with the custom button, all we'll do is click Install. And it says, your Mac needs to be restarted. Do you wish to continue? Yes. This is actually pretty important because if you were working, say, in a word processor or a spreadsheet, you would not want to do this because you very well might lose your work. So we're going to click on the Yes button. And it will say, where do you want me to install the software? And saying it's going to put it into a folder called ISCM folder for us.
Okay.
And it's going to put it on our hard disk. And I'm going to actually move it to the desktop because that way we can find it easily. And then I'm going to click Install. And it will say installing 0 of 158 items. And it's just zipping right along here.
See all the
Modem, strings, across. Anarchy.
Anarchy, yeah. I know these words.
Yeah, you read the book, see? Good reason to read the book before using the disk.
Ooh, but that's going too fast for me now.
Yeah, well.
A lot of tools.
So we're installing all of this stuff, and it's about 3/4 done. There goes Turbo Gopher. Poof, it's done. Installation was successful. In order to take advantage of the new software, your Macintosh needs to be restarted. We click the restart button. And there it goes.
I see.
And once again, as I said, under Windows, it's just very much the same idea. There is nothing any harder. It just follows the Windows conventions. So you say you're typing :setup, running that program from the program manager, and it will install the different programs that do the same thing. And we now have our ISCAM folder on the desktop, just where we saved it. And we're pretty much ready to go.
Install notes. We clicked on the installer, performed a standard install, then restarted the Mac. Under Windows, installation is slightly different, but just as simple. Holly's next task, and yours, requires interacting with your specific internet provider. That provider offers you a connecting service at a particular price and from a specific location. You'll be given a series of passwords and codes to protect your account. To connect properly, your software must be configured to match your provider specifications and directions. Let's rejoin Adam and Holly.
Well, first we actually have to configure your software properly.
Oh.
Some of it's been done for you by the installer, but there's still some more that you have to do. And your provider will have given you a piece of paper, probably that one there, that lists the information that you need to know for your account. Because like anything on the internet, it has to identify you specifically. So it's got your username and your password.
All right.
As well as some other, basically numbers that we type in the right boxes.
Okay.
So on the Mac, we'll configure 2 control panels in your control panels folder called config PPP and Mac TCP. And you can see them there. On your Windows machine at work, you would use an application called Custom. And basically exactly the same thing, except for slightly different look in terms of where you type the numbers.
Very good.
But once we've done that, we'll be all set to run the programs.
So I'm identifying who I am to the provider?
Precisely.
Okay.
Configuring notes. To configure your software, you must have the right information from your provider, including your username and password. You cannot guess at internet configuration. Only your provider can give you that information. You need the same information, whether Mac or Windows. Once you master the tools, the internet can place a vast array of powerful services literally at your fingertips. In our next segment, Adam decides to contact Vice President Gore as he and Holly begin their exploration of email, the internet service that will likely seem easiest and most familiar to you.
Email is one of the easier things to get up and running, and there's a couple of good addresses you can send to where you can be sure you're going to get something back right away. The President of the United States, for instance. So we're going to use a program called Eudora, and it was installed for us on the disk, and it's installed exactly the same program for the PC. So if you wanted to do doing this at work, it would look exactly the same. But I'll show you how easy it is to configure, because people get overwhelmed by this, and it's just not that hard. We'll go to the special menu, we'll choose Configuration. And it brings up this large dialog, which looks intimidating, but in fact, you only have to fill in POP account, which is on that sheet of paper your provider gave you.
My provider account, right.
I'm using an account called tidbits@halcyon.com, one of my accounts. And then the hard one, your real name.
And the return address and server
Return
information?
address, it's optional.
I see.
Your provider may tell you to fill some of it in, but generally you don't have to mess with it.
Okay.
So we just click the OK button, and it's configured.
Great.
There's lots of other stuff you can tweak, customize, make it so it's just the way you want it, but you don't have to use that for basic working.
Great.
Alrighty.
Can we send some email?
We sure can. Who you want to send to? How about someone famous?
How about the White House?
The White House. The White House. Good choice. How about the Vice President?
Okay.
Alrighty.
Mr. Information Superhighway.
Mr. Information Superhighway himself. As with any address, you cannot send me mail unless you know what my postal address is.
Right.
We cannot send him mail unless we know what his email address is.
We can't just send it to Mr. Information Superhighway.
We could try, but it would bounce. It would come back at us. Unable to deliver, user unknown.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, too.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's true, that if you type something wrong, you may get these, they're called bounces. It's just like when the post office says, return to sender. We don't know.
Insufficient address or
precisely.
whatever. Okay.
However, I happen to know Al Gore's email address.
Oh, I see. All right.
I know it because it's a kind of a well-known one, and because it follows some easy rules. So it is vice.president. Easy with me so far? At whitehouse.gov, indicating it's a government site. So, you know, we can say, what's up with the NII now that the Congress has, I can't type, Republican. I wouldn't want to misspell something in a letter to the Vice President. It would be embarrassing. And then we'll just sign this. Next. Okay.
Very
now, we have this button up here which says Q. And what it's going to do is we click on that button, it will queue up our message to send it to the Vice President. We could have that set so to send it immediately, but that's kind of a pain. Because you have to set, it'd be kind of like writing 15 letters, and after you write one, you immediately have to go out to the mailbox and put it in, come back in and write the next one.
I see.
And what you do most times, like you're doing Christmas cards to someone, you write them all, you take the whole stack of them out. It's the same thing. So we'll queue this one up.
I see.
And we want to go out to the mailbox and send it. And when you go out to the mailbox, actually, you also get the mail that's in there.
Okay.
So we'll go to our file menu, and we'll choose Check Mail.
Very good.
It says, please enter the tidbits@halcyon.com password. It's very important that passwords exist because this is my mail. It could be very personal stuff. This particular stuff does not happen to be, but I don't really want people reading it anyway. So I have this secret password, which even you can't see, because I just got these little dots on the screen. And it goes off and it's going to go and look for my mail first. And yes, we got transferring mail 1 of 1, an autoresponder of whitehouse.gov. So it's saying, you know, here's your mail back. And now it's going to go out and it's going to send that message that we just queued up. And it's off.
That was quick.
And we get this nice dialogue that says, you have new mail with a rooster. No, I don't know where the rooster came from. So in any event, we can click the OK button. And if we wanted to, we could read this message that came back just by double-clicking on it. Dear friend, thank you for writing to the Vice President via Internet. If you're using Eudora, which is really, in my opinion, one of the best programs available for the Mac and for the PC to use email, it will be almost identical. You'll have the same menu items, you'll have the same dialogues, everything like that.
Okay.
So the people who do Eudora have gone to great lengths to make it exactly the same for people like you, who use a Mac at home maybe and a PC at work or vice versa.
Great.
And want to switch back and forth with a minimum of confusion.
Email mementos. We configured Eudora, created an email message to Vice President Al Gore, sent it off, and read the reply. A good password helps to keep your email private. Mac and Windows versions of Eudora are almost identical. No software disk can possibly contain all of the latest Internet programs. In the interest of telling you about the best things available on the Internet to date, we've decided to include this section entitled Bookmarks. Bookmarks allows a user to locate and download the newest versions of specific programs at the simple click of a mouse. Unfortunately for Windows users, bookmarks are still in the development stage. But do pay attention to this section. It can only be a matter of time until they arrive for your PC.
Even if I gave you 10 disks, I couldn't give you everything that you might possibly want. CD-ROM will help a lot with that because there's plenty of room. But the problem is that when the internet moves so fast, new versions come out all the time. So even if we did that, the stuff you get at point A is going to be out of date by the time you get the CD-ROM or you get the disk or whatnot. So for instance, a number of these programs even are out of date from when I created the disk.
I see.
So I did, however, do something on the Mac which will help you to get around that. And I made what are called bookmarks, or pointers to the latest versions of all these programs. Unfortunately, that capability is not yet available on the PC. Hope it will be soon. It's really, really useful. So you see this folder we've got here called Essential Bookmarks. If we double-click on that, we'll see some 30 things saying files.
Things I can get.
Yeah, get JPEG view, get Eudora. So if you wanted like a later version of Eudora, things like that. One thing you'll see at the bottom here, it says get updated essential bookmarks. One of the problems even with this set of bookmarks is what happens if there's a new program. I didn't know about it when I created these, so how could I have created a bookmark to it?
I see.
However, I'm keeping all of this stuff up to date, so what we'll do is we'll double-click on this file, and it will run a program called Anarchy. You mentioned you'd heard about Anarchy. Anarchy is an FTP program, file transfer, so it's retrieving this file. And it's going to go out to the internet and retrieve the updated bookmarks.
The lights on the modem are flashing.
This is good. If the lights aren't flashing, Anarchy's not doing anything.
We're not bringing anything in. Oh, look at that.
Yep, and it's coming right in. 1 second left. There it is. And if you see now on our desktop over here, we've got this file called Bookmarks. And it's what's called a self-extracting archive, which means it's compressed so it's smaller, so it takes less time to download. And all we have to do is double-click on it. And it unstuffs 32 items. And says, yay, it was successful.
Okay.
Okay. So now we've got our old one here. Let's get rid of this old folder of essential bookmarks and open our new one. Now, when you look at this one,
slick,
you'll see that it's a little bigger. There's more stuff in there.
Wow.
And so we know that this is going to be the latest and greatest. All these are going to point to the best programs, and it's up to date with any new ones that might have shipped.
Bookmark notations. Bookmarks are pointers to programs or files on the Internet. Internet Starter Kit for Macintosh comes with bookmarks to help you get the latest software and find the most popular sites. The bookmark for Get Updated Essential Bookmarks downloads an updated collection of the bookmarks, including those for new Internet programs. Now it's time for discussion groups. You may have already heard a lot about them. There's virtually no subject you can't find a discussion about. And if need be, you can always begin a new group of your own.
Remember the programs we were talking about in the book?
Newswatcher?
Newswatcher,
Right.
Internews,
Right.
and another one called Nontius. On the PC, you're talking WinVN, Trumpet Newsreader, things like that. And so all we have to do is come down here. We're on a Mac, so we want Newswatcher. And we double-click on Newswatcher. And it goes out and gets Newswatcher.
Great.
Let's launch it, and it will go out and read the full, massive list of all the news groups and that sort of stuff. Now,
wow.
What kinds of things were you interested in? I mean, we've got 8,320 news groups here. Probably want to narrow it down a little bit.
My interests probably fit in there somewhere, right? Well, how about scuba diving? How would we
diving. Okay.
look for it?
What we can do is we can go to the... where did I put it? There we go. We went to the edit menu and choose Find.
Okay.
It's like scuba. This will find us any news groups that have the word scuba in the name. So if they've called it like alt.diving, it won't find it. But we can search on other things if need be.
All right.
So we'll say start at the beginning and click Find. Now it's found Aus Sport Scuba. I believe that's probably an Australian group. So unless you're planning on going to the Great Barrier Reef.
Well, that would be great information there, though, if I did. But
probably.
Let's go on for something a little more local.
You can choose Find again. Aha, rec.scuba.
That's
probably the main one. The rec here stands for recreation.
Okay.
There's other ones you will see is comp for computers, sci for science, misc for things that don't fit elsewhere, and probably the biggest one you'll see is alt for alternative, and that's where the really weird news groups are.
Oh, okay.
But if we want to read rec.scuba, all we have to do is double click on it.
Great.
And it says, Getting Subjects and Authors, rec.scuba. So you can see some of the things that we've got here, just reading down the subjects quickly. Okay.
What does the little icon out to the left mean?
Okay, you see these arrows, little triangles, and a number. And that means that more than one person has contributed to that topic.
I see.
So for instance, in the Paddy or Nowie Survival, there are 2 postings, one from Keelan McWhorter, it looks like, and one from someone named Dylan Pyron.
I see.
And so, this person wrote the first article, and then the here says this person replied to it.
I see.
So that's called a thread. It's a discussion topic that more than one person has contributed to, and often the thread will go on for some time with follow-ups and replies and rebuttals and arguments and whatnot. But it's a great way for something like this. These people are probably discussing the difference here, and we can double-click on it, and it will just bring in that article so we can read it.
Discussion Groups Review. Usenet News contains thousands of discussion groups on almost every imaginable topic. You can search through the list to find the group you want to participate in. A thread is a collection of messages, all on the same topic within a discussion group. Retrieving files on the internet has a lot in common with the manual filing and retrieving experience that we've all grown up with. First, you locate the file you want and then copy it.
On the internet, here's this file located at this place, and they may give you what's called a URL, a Uniform Resource Locator, which is an identifier to one of these places. You can think of it a little bit like a bookmark, except for it's not quite as easy as just double-clicking on it. Or they may just say, go to this FTP site and look in this folder for this file.
So if I knew I was going there, I could use FTP directly to go there?
Right. So
would that be the only time I would want to use FTP?
Pretty much. You can't browse through all of the FTP servers. That if you don't know where you're going and what you want, you're unlikely to be able to find things.
Is that because, am I correct in my understanding, it was one of the earliest things out?
The problem with FTP is that it's been around for so long and it is so old. I mean, it works very well, and it is still, more data is transferred via FTP than anything else. But it's such a simple protocol. It's just copying a file from one place to another. There's no linking of sites, there's no linking of files, nothing like that.
I see.
So for instance, when say Gopher, you can link sites, or the World Wide Web, where you can actually link within the paid documents. There's just none of that in FTP. So FTP is a really good tool for just grabbing a file.
FTP Notes. FTP is a very simple method of copying files from a machine on the internet to your Mac or PC. Use FTP when you know the file you want and where it is. Of course, with time came progress. And here, Adam talks about Gopher, a file transfer system that offers many improvements over FTP.
People saw FTP and they said, well, this is great. You know, it's wonderful to be able to copy a file from one place to another. But then the problem is that, you know, what happens when you don't know where to go? So a group at the University of Minnesota came up with a program called Gopher, a server called Gopher. And what Gopher did is it makes information retrieval much simpler by linking sites together, allowing sites to put in links from one to another. So you just see a menu on the screen and you can click on something and it takes you there. Maybe there is another server somewhere on the other side of the world. Maybe it's a document.
Okay.
And so that was a big step forward. And the other thing that Gopher did is you actually see the documents when you bring them up. You're not so much, with FTP, you just copy it to your hard disk and then you have to do something else with it. You have to like open it in your word processor or whatever if you want to see it.
Let's look at Gopher, can we?
Yes, certainly. I'm going to use a Gopher client called Turbo Gopher. And it's a really good one. We will just double click on it. And it runs, and it brings up the bookmark worksheet. And we can say, go to our home Gopher. So we've ended up at our home Gopher server, which happens to be at the University of Minnesota, and say we wanted to get more information about Gopher. We just double click on that item, and it comes up. And if, while that's connecting, we wanted more information about other Gopher and information servers, we can do that, all at the same time.
Oh, that's terrific.
So
that's very
these may be taking us to the same places, they may be taking us to different places. There's just no way to know. So here we've got all the, we could get a list of every Gopher server in the world, and there's thousands and thousands of them. Or we could search them if we wanted to do that. So we could say, well, let's see, we want to find Gophers, maybe in Seattle. So we'll type Seattle, and then we'll click on the Find button. And it's going to go out and do that. And we've hit 3 Gophers that at least have the word Seattle in their names.
Wonderful.
So the beauty of Gopher is that it's just so linked. Double-clicking there takes us immediately to this site called Seattle, USA, and we don't have to worry about, like, what's the address of that site? How do we find it? Well, we just clicked.
Gopher Notes. Gopher makes retrieving information easier than FTP by linking sites and displaying the information immediately on screen. All of the Gopher servers in the world are listed at the home Gopher server at the University of Minnesota. The fastest growing service on the internet, and easily the most exciting, is the World Wide Web. Just watch as Adam and Holly browse the web, and I'm sure you'll discover why so many people are anxious to access its wonders.
So what happens next?
Well, let's get out of our Gopher program here and I'm going to use a web browser called Netscape, which is a relatively recent one. It was one that we had to get from our updated Essential Bookmarks because it's recent. Netscape works exactly the same on both PC and Mac.
Excellent.
Looks identical, it works identical, it's a great program, and is, at the moment, the best web browser there is. The most famous one, of course, is Mosaic, which everyone's heard about, but Netscape is, in my opinion, quite a bit better than Mosaic at the moment. Make our window nice and big, and it says, "Welcome to Netscape. You have just embarked on a journey across the internet, and Netscape is your vehicle."
Right.
One thing we can do here, you see they've given us these buttons up at the top. So you were saying that you were kind of interested in browsing around and searching for things. They click on the Net Directory button to go to a list of directories.
Okay.
So it's a good way to both search and browse. So, you know, it's kind of like the card catalog in the library where, yeah, if you know exactly what you're going for, you can hit it exactly, or you can use some more general resources.
Great.
So I'll scroll down here a bit, and here are two of my favorite sites, EINet Galaxy and Yahoo. Now let's click on the link for Yahoo. This is really what's all about what using the web is like. You see words that are blue or purple and underlined, and you click on them.
Great.
You do not need to know all of the technical information. You don't need to know anything else. So what they've created is some various categories: art, business, computers, economy, education.
And the numbers after those categories indicate?
The numbers indicate the number of resources in that category.
I see.
So I just clicked on education, and we see alternative education. There's 2, community colleges 16.
Well, I can see that this is really incredibly easy to use.
One thing that really sets the web apart, and the reason why I think we're going to see seeing more and more on the web, is that the web allows you to mix text and graphics. You can see we've got these graphical buttons here. And that's really attracted the attention of publishers and companies that want to put catalogs online.
Oh, yeah.
So we're seeing even now this incredible level of interest in using the web as a publishing medium. And even though in some sense you've been able to do that before with Gopher and FTP, it was enough harder to use and frankly, it wasn't sexy enough. It didn't have that, oh wow, look at that appeal.
So is this where people, like the major record labels and the film studios, have their home pages, so to speak?
Yes, absolutely. The home pages being, the main page, kind of the when you walk in, it's what you see on the door.
Right. I'm noticing even in the advertising for films, at the bottom you'll have the internet address where you can go and see a clip.
And in fact, probably if we click on this entertainment link, I'm sure there'll be one in there for films and one for television, and I'll bet there'd be huge amounts of stuff there. And the other thing that's just so exciting about the web is that it's moving so quickly and so much information is being put up on it constantly that you do have to keep checking in to see what's changed. That's what all these little new signs are.
Everything's new. Everything's flagged
new,
as being new. So they're being constantly updated.
And the amount of information is just incredible. So, when we went off and talked to people about, what do you want to find on the internet? Frankly, we ended up using the web in almost every case because that's where the information is right now. And that's the best way of getting it. Using these web browsers, using Netscape primarily.
Great. Excellent.
The other thing the web did, which is extremely useful and extremely interesting, is it sort of subsumed the previous services. We've looked at FTP and we've looked at Gopher. Well, people doing the web said, well, heck, we can do all that. Yeah, I mean, if they can do it, we can do it. And these were, it was known how to write an FTP client easily at that point. So what they did is they built all this functionality into the clients that you use to access the World Wide Web.
So if I really don't know where I'm going, I should get onto the web, on the World Wide Web, and get as broad a search as possible.
World Wide Web Notes. The World Wide Web is currently the latest and most popular method of publishing information on the Internet. On the World Wide Web, text and graphics can appear in the same document. Hypertext links make it easy to navigate between related web pages. People are always asking Adam, what's coming next? Here's his preview of a coming attraction called See You, See Me.
See You, See Me is very cool. We're coming in over a modem, so beware. It is not as slick as it would be if we had a fast internet connection. What I've done is I've downloaded the See You, See Me program here, and ran it, And then in the conference menu, it lets you connect to a lot of different sites. And the site that one site that I know is up and showing us something a lot is actually called NASA Select, or now the window's called NASA TV. And they're probably running a tape loop, and I'm not really sure what it is. But you actually can see things sort of moving, although you were at about 1 frame per second. So this is not high quality video. But in fact, we are seeing video coming in over our modem. Oh look, now we're seeing a classroom of kids.
Wonderful.
And it just changed scene. As I said, it's not great quality. It's slow, it's chunky, and it's amazing as all get out.
Using a high-speed connection, See You, See Me allows people to do two-way video conferencing on the internet.
Adam, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This has been terrific. I have gone from being very intimidated by the whole process and the enormity of the thing to very comfortable. I can see that we can do this in pieces and just click one at a time and get just about anywhere.
Indeed. So much of this is just a matter of kind of getting your feet wet, trying it, just not being intimidated in some sense. It's just not a big deal. That anyone can do this. It is not that hard. And with the internet being this incredible communication medium, the more people we get on, the better, because people will bring their skills, they'll bring their interests, they'll bring their opinions, and that's what's going to help make the world a better place to be in the future, at least in my opinion.
It's very exciting stuff. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
We took Adam on location around Los Angeles to work with people from different walks of life, demonstrating to them and to you how the internet can work. Let's now join Adam at Los Angeles High School, where an attentive audience of honor students waits to ask Adam.
Hi, I'm Tamara Hoffman, and I'm a teacher at Los Angeles High School, which is a typical mid-city school in an urban center. And with me are some not typical students. They're kids who've come to learn more about the new technology because they want to know what's going on today. And I was really excited to find out that the author is really here showing us, and so that's really, and you're going to tell us all about everything.
Indeed. Whatever you ask, I mean, you teach everything, it sounds like, so I will do my best to answer whatever.
And you've got great kids with curious minds and big mouths.
And they're all around me, and they've got me outnumbered, so I better be good.
Right.
Okay. I just did a search on mailing lists about teaching, or they at least have a word about teaching in the thing, so we can see kind of for teachers, what are the groups that you could in essence join and talk about.
Well, one of the things that a lot of these kids are interested in, as seniors, they're all applying to colleges.
They all want to be teachers?
No.
No.
They all want to be rich. No. They all want to be well educated, and they're thinking about good for-year schools. And is there any kind of discussion groups where seniors talk about?
Absolutely. There's this neat program called Newswatcher, which is a Usenet news program, and one of the things that they have is a whole series.
Are these all the different groups that they could select from?
Yes.
Look at that. Is this chat seniors?
Yep, it is. And so it is specifically for seniors who want to talk to other seniors around the country.
Communicate with someone from another country?
All the time.
Oh.
I have friends in Japan and Australia and Turkey and Sweden whom I've, for the most part, never met.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
look at this
interesting.
Wanted high school summer program in Russia. It's someone who actually is coming in via CompuServe, which can connect into the news groups. So it's this person is looking for it. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is no one's responded to this person yet because they only posted it 2 days ago. But if someone does respond, that might be a good way of just finding out that information. Or you could just send this person mail. His email address is, or her email address. So no way of knowing.
Do you want to explain what the email?
Oh, sorry. Email address. This bit right here is that person's essentially personal mail. I mean, just like you get normal mail at home in the mailbox, you can have electronic mail, which appears in your electronic mailbox.
Can I communicate with my friend who have a Macintosh if I have IBM?
Mm-hmm. There's, in some sense, the internet doesn't care at all what type of computer you use, because everything is a set of standards. So as long as the programs know how to communicate properly with the standards, you're probably talking to like a Unix mainframe in the middle, and it may go through a number of other computers on the way to your friend who has the PC or the Mac, and vice versa. So yeah, it's as far as sending email back and forth or putting information up, doesn't matter at all what you got.
Can you receive mail even though you don't have an email address?
You have to have an email address to be able to receive it. That's true. But it's the sort of thing where it's usually relatively easy if there is some kind of access for the school to get to get your own account, at least for while you're there. I mean, for instance, whenever you go to college, every college just about these days gives out free email addresses.
Oh, really?
And most colleges have full internet access.
In terms of study groups, could, for example, Sue or Maria or somebody else, could they like do a research project with somebody in New York or?
Absolutely.
That would be really nice.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, I really wish you could stay longer because I know that we've only just touched a small part of this whole internet.
It's very, very big.
Yeah, and
but it sounds like you've got the right idea. So, and once you got the idea, it's not that hard to get on, and once you're on, it's not hard to get what you want to get.
The Internet offers students the opportunity to communicate with one another and conduct worldwide research from their home computer. Next, Adam meets with Jackie Roth, a nationally prominent educator and actress.
I'm Jackie Roth, and I have my own consulting firm. And I deal primarily in the area of communication. I work a lot with companies, corporations, agencies that want to provide services or programs to deaf and hard of hearing people. I do a lot of training, marketing, and I'm really very curious about internet.
What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to a subject catalog. Think of it like a library catalog where someone has taken a lot of resources and organized and categorized them. Now, this particular one is called EINet Galaxy. And probably the easiest thing to do for us in this section is actually, rather than just trying to find their specific link, is to just do a simple search on the word deaf. Here's a link called Disabilities Health that might give us a bunch more possibilities. So we've moved here to a site that lets us search the master list of discussion groups. And let's come in here and do another search. And again, we'll just click in the search field and type the word deaf. Relatively simple word that should hit what we want. And we'll wait for it to go out and search. It has about almost 6,000 lists that it knows about, so there's bound to be some here. Here's deaf education resources, deaf electronic resources.
There's nothing on technology.
Well, let's go back. Okay, this seems to be...
Oh, the cochlear implant.
Yeah, it's talking about cochlear implants. What do I do if my baby is diagnosed as hearing impaired? Here's employment of deaf people in Section 8. Okay,
so these are the questions that people ask. So if I see something that I would like to discuss, then I can connect my stuff.
Yeah, this is that mailing list that we were looking at. So if you subscribed to that mailing list, you could discuss all of the things in here.
Anarchy.
Yeah, anarchy.
Anarchy.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Anarchy.
You see where internet can really benefit me? I don't have to worry about how I pronounce it.
Don't worry, everyone gets that one wrong. Anarchy, when I was saying there's different ways of making information available, well, what Anarchy is doing is it's what's called an FTP client, File Transfer Protocol. And all that really is copying. So it's copying this file, and it's going to take a little less than a minute to grab this program for us. And so what we can do with Anarchy is it's really good for when you know specifically where the file you want is. And it's good for files. It's not good for information. But if you wanted a program for your Macintosh, say, there's thousands and thousands of programs that you can download using a program like Anarchy.
Does it cost less to call on internet than a regular telephone?
Much less. Usually with the internet, you're making a local phone call to actually connect to the internet. Once you've made that local phone call, using the internet is free. And I can show you if we can ever find someone up, what you get simply a window with two panes. You type in one pane and they type in the other. So you can actually do something else at the same time. Takes a while to type, so it's a slower conversation. But for someone who's deaf, it might be a lot faster than working through a special operator.
Definitely. It could really bridge
deaf
and hearing people together. I mean, it could really be a way to connect.
And
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. I'm excited.
We'll have to get you started browsing around, finding the specific stuff you need.
Will you be my first what do you call it, connection?
Certainly. I'll send you email.
Okay, it's a deal.
We can do the search on something fairly simple search term here, missing children. That ought to find it quite easily, and we'll see what we get back. We have linked to a group called National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and let's go there, see what they have to say. In this section, you will find information and images from the Missing Children database. So we can go here and click on a link for Missing Children listings, which will get us right into the database. Now what we've got up here is a graphical map of the country split into sections for different parts. So why don't we see if we can find anyone from this approximate area. So I'll click on the part of the country, the Southwest, and go into the actual listings. Southwest region, and here's someone named Jamaica Rochester, who was from Los Angeles.
How many missing children do you think are in the system right now at this time?
I'd have to look, but I think they actually did say. Let me see if I can find that information. They were definitely citing very large numbers of what I was seeing earlier. So through June 1992, they've played a role in the recovery of more than 20,000, worked with more than 32,000 cases involving missing and exploited children, and handled more than 570,000 telephone calls through their 1-800 The Lost hotline.
By making information available to millions of people, the Internet can help solve problems that face all of us. Adam also spent part of his day demonstrating the Internet as a medical ally.
I'm Dr. Susan Reynolds. I'm the Director of Urgent Care Services and Women's Health at Prairie Medical Group in Santa Monica. I know it exists, and I know that it's a tremendous amount of research information or data that supposedly the practitioner can have access to. It's sort of mystifying to me because I'm not that knowledgeable about it, but let's just take in women's health. There's always new protocols for treating breast cancer. Could you possibly pull that up, so show me how I could find out what's the latest?
Okay. Once we get into medicine, we start getting more specific things. We're going down a hierarchy. Let's go back up. You're talking about breast cancer, and see what they have for cancer. It looks like there's a couple of good things here. We've got this one link called Breast Cancer Information. One thing that you'll find on the Internet is that certain things do tend to be a little slow if there's a lot of graphics involved. But we've hit the Breast Cancer Information Clearinghouse, maintained by New York State Education and Research Network.
How about the NIH guide?
NIH guide, and it's an index, so maybe we'll be able to search it. Which, I mean...
That's what I'd heard, that you can access anything at the NIH. Beautiful.
Yeah. They've got guides for 1990 through 94, and yeah, you can search it via keyword or text string.
Where do we find some data about the latest either chemotherapy or the surgeries we tried?
There's something called CancerNet, and there's a link to it at Bonn University in Germany. And as
that's the NCI database. Okay.
So we've got the NCI database, but this is something that very well may have the kinds of things.
State-of-the-art treatment statements for physicians. Go back up.
Back up, back up.
There you go.
There we go.
That's what I want.
This is what you want.
There is important and current medical information for both doctors and patients on the Internet. And finally, Adam concluded his Internet road tour by doing a brief gig with entertainment attorney Jay Shanker.
Let's start with trademark. Let's see what...
Okay, trademark law. And we will connect there, see what we get. We have the Trademark Act of 1946. Here's a company that has trademark resources and trademark application forms. So one of the things you tend to do when you're browsing on the web is you tend to go deep in and then come back out.
Let me ask if there was something as I'm browsing that I want to either return to or save. Let's say it's useful for me to know that there's a place I can download blank forms or files. Is there a way other than...
Yes. If we go up to this bookmarks menu, and there's an entry called Add Bookmark, and you can see here that I've added a couple already for some of the places that I like to visit that I find useful for this sort of thing. And so yes, if you see a place that you like, you simply go to the bookmark menu, choose Add Bookmark.
And then it's now on my short list.
It's on your short list. So the other way that people find things is there's these search engines where you can say, well, I'm interested in California, what's available for a lawyer in California. So we could actually go to a site and do a search on the terms California law and legal, say. And I'll bet we'd find some stuff that would specifically be of interest to a lawyer in California. So, want to try that?
Sure.
Go to another site here. It's another one of my favorites called EINet Galaxy. And they've got a pretty good searching system. So that's one of the ways I like to find things. They search a number of different databases of resources. And it's as I said, it's a little bit more random than finding something in a library, but in many ways you're using the same skills. Here we go.
It's
See it
coming in now.
Coming in now. It's a picture, Andromeda Nebula or something like that, if I remember correctly. So they're a subject catalog like Yahoo, so you can see all of the arts and humanities, business and commerce, community. There's actually another law section here with another intellectual property, so maybe we'll come back here. Let's scroll down to the bottom where we have our search. We can say search for California law legal, and let's search on the World Wide Web. So we'll tell EINet Galaxy to go out and look for that, and it's going to give us a number of things that in some way match that search term. Most of the searching engines on the internet in some way use technology called WAIS, which stands for Wide Area Information Servers. And what WAIS is really good at is something called ranking. So it can say, I think that this document is pretty likely to be what you want, whereas this one down here, it sort of matches, but it's a little less likely.
I see.
And it'll give things a score. So if you see a number after these things, after the hits, it'll be an explanation, what the program thinks how likely it is that it matched. It's not always accurate, but...
And of course, the program's only as efficient as my question is to
right.
begin with. So.
If you search for a law as just a generic term, you're going to hit tons of things, most of which are completely uninteresting, and it takes a while to learn the searching mechanisms. Mostly the rule is to try to be relatively narrow, and if you don't get anything, broaden out. So let's search on law, legal, and lawyer. And this will get us, apparently there's about 5,900 entries in this list, so I think we'll probably hit something. As we move on, the thing I think that's becoming the most important part of the internet is getting easier to use all the time. So whereas even 2 years ago, I would be sitting here typing, okay, now we type this arcane command, and then we type that arcane command, and we can download this file, and then we can decode it, and then we can run another program, and we can see the graphic. Now it's a matter of clicking. It's not a functional difference, and we're getting the same image on our screen, but it's a huge difference for the individual, whether that individual be a normal person or a professional or whatnot.
It got me to the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to learn the commands. You don't need to do anything else. You can basically point and click. Now, what you do need to do, and this is something that there's no escaping from, is you have to know how to search. You have to know your topic. What I always recommend is that people just get online and try things and try things and try things, and don't get frustrated. Just do something else if you're not finding something on that particular day. Maybe a machine you need to go to is down. It happens. It'll be back up tomorrow, kind of thing.
Is the payoff worth it at this point, or if not for the average professional user, when is that likely to happen? How many months away or years away?
It depends on the field you're in specifically, and whether or not the resources that we've found and the ones that are out there that we haven't found are specifically useful to you, and that's a little hard for me to say. As a communications medium, as something that you can use to find information and communicate with other people, if that's important to you, the payoff is there today, it was there 6 months ago, it was there a year ago. As far as the specific information, maybe here today, maybe tomorrow. And it's just a little hard to tell in any given profession, but I cannot imagine life without the internet at the moment. Just as probably you cannot imagine life without your word processor. If you had to type everything today, you would look at it and say, my God, I can't believe how clumsy this is. That's how I view it when I try to do something in a book or in a library, or it's like, geez, if I could just search this, it would be easy.
Well, I'm intrigued. Shelley, hold calls for the afternoon. I'm cruising the internet.
As we said earlier, the internet is about computers, information, and people. We trust that this video primer with Adam Engst has made it possible for you to be one of those people, and that your exploration of the internet will be both enjoyable and rewarding.